Hello, good morning, good evening, good night from wherever you are. My name is Susie Amos or Susan Njuguna. I am streaming live from Massachusetts, Armstrong Mindset Health Studio. I'm here with Yvette. Welcome back, Yvette. Today
Thank
we are going to
you.
be focusing on delayed gratification, and I think that's the topic that most people um, kind of resonated with. So, Yvette will be asking questions from the community, and welcome back and introduce yourself, Yvette.
Okay, thank you so much, Susie. Hi, everyone. I'm Yvette from Yvette Media. I'm based in Nairobi. That's where I am at right now. And as usual, I'll be asking questions from the community. You guys are our community. These questions are basically from you, and these are the questions that help us to understand these topics much more. So I am ready, Susie, anytime you are.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome back. We missed you last time,
Thank
so
you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. It's like a week without this session for me is incomplete. And today I
oh,
just had to be here.
I'm glad to hear. Welcome back.
Hmm.
We love you here. So, yeah, you can continue with the questions. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, cool. So I'll go straight into it. So first, we're talking about delayed gratification. Tell us
Mhm.
what is delayed gratification and why it's important for us when we want to achieve our goals.
Yeah. So, delayed gratification, and I think this is a topic that we use it every day, and gratification is one of the words that most of us never learned about it until later, right? Um,
Yes.
but this we are actually born with a birth. It comes up as soon as actually we're born, and we learn how to have that gratification or use the gratification as soon as we land to this world. And that's one of the things that we actually learn, as babies. you know I'll just quickly go through how actually it comes up, and I will try my best to get some examples out there. um
Okay.
as soon as you're born, um a baby cries, and when the baby cries, there's an expectation in that baby, and even if they don't have any expectation, as human beings, we actually create an expectation for that baby. So
Hmm.
what we do, Yvette, what do we do when the baby cries?
We give them milk.
Or what else do we do? We pick them up,
We
right?
soothe them. Yeah.
Yeah, we pick them up. So the minute that baby gets out of your mother's womb, or they're born, they cry. That's the first thing they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they cry, they get something. There's always
Mm.
that's something that comes up, like when they cry. We either give them a bottle, we either breastfeed them, or we actually end up picking them up and soothing them, rocking them back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do right there and then?
Um, we're like pacifying them, like,
Mhm.
comforting them.
Yes, we are comforting them. Very like we're making them feel better. We are
Mm.
rewarding them for the cry. We're giving them pleasure, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they feel good. And when you have pleasure, what happens? When you're rewarded and when you have pleasure, what happens? You feel
You're
good.
happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You feel good, and you now next time, when the baby the baby knows when they cry, they'll feel better by someone
Mm.
picking them up, feeding them, or giving them a bottle. Well, what, as a mother, what did you just create? Gratification.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So so you create that gratification as soon as that baby is born. So gratification,
Mm.
one of the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing in a human being's life. very important. That's the first thing we get. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing we know how to ask or get. We're not taught.
Mm-hmm.
That is inborn. It's in there.
Mm.
No one tells you what to do. You actually,
Yeah.
ask for it, and you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, immediately you start, you know, having the ability of being or having being gratified. So now, so we have the phenomena of, and I will use that baby again because that's a very important phenomena that we tend to actually not understand. And as soon as baby cries, we give them food. The baby cries, we give them that. We are actually, of course, nurturing them. You know, allowing them to know that we're present. That's the only way you can communicate, through gratification with that baby. That's
Mm. Yeah.
You gratify them, you reward them, you make them feel better, you make them
Mm.
feel pleasure, like they feel like they're being rewarded, they feel pleasure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we learn that that's an integral part of us, or integral important part of being a human being. Gratification is one of the most important things. So now, as we grow up, right, we actually start understanding that things do not come out that easily, right?
Yeah.
So, when you're 2 years old, and I'm going to go through, our developmental stages. When you're about 2 years old, your mom starts saying no to things.
Mm.
Or when you're little, when you start taking things because you're used to getting them, so you don't know the rules of the world, right?
Oh yes.
What
Mm.
do? You start taking them and making them yours. It's mine. Yeah. They learn how to say it's mine, right?
Mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
mine. And then what does the parent learn how to say? No, right? The child doesn't
Mm-hmm.
understand that language. The child
Mm.
understands that I take it. It's
Mm-hmm.
mine.
I
I get
want it, I take it.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. I get it. And how do we get to having a child who is terrible too, with tantrums? Why?
Yeah.
Because they're used to getting it. Now you're trying to teach them the concept of they don't have to get it all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
So now what happens is you're like, at some point you're like, no, I don't have any money. No, you can't get it right now. You have to wait. Oh, they
Mm.
don't know how to wait. From the time when they
Mm.
landed into this earth, they knew that they cry, they get it. And
Mm-hmm.
then now you're here trying to tell them that they have to wait.
Telling them. Mm-mm.
What happens? That child throws a big tantrum
Yes. Mm.
because have they mastered delayed gratification yet?
Mm-mm. No.
No.
They don't even understand what it's all about.
Yeah. Because the language that they know is they ask for it, and what do? They get it.
They get it. Mm.
So now, when we grow up and develop, and actually our brain develop, then now our mothers, our fathers, our caregivers, they start introducing us to actually you have to wait mechanism.
Mm.
So now, when they do that, then we struggle with it as kids growing up, and most parents will do it over and over again because if they don't do it, that child, will not understand how to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So now, then they will have a very distorted or a very, they will misunderstand how the world work.
Mm.
So now what we do, we try to train our kids, how to wait, wait for your turn. If they go to school, because when we go to school, we start learning how to live a life later, or we practice, living a life, right? You wait
Yes.
for your turn, when you lift up your hand, If someone else is answering the question, the teacher will wait for that other person to wait
Mm.
to answer the question and actually ask you afterwards, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now we actually tend to learn, delayed gratification over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
as we're growing up, as we're going to school, as we are being exposed to adults who care about us, they will try and actually make us wait. So now,
Mm.
the more you wait, the more you build that muscle that you did not have as a baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
if you do not learn how to wait, if you have everything on the silver platter and you're put in a world that actually makes you wait, can you be able to survive?
Oh no, you'll be so frustrated.
Absolutely. You'll be
Yeah.
so frustrated. Be so
Mm.
angry. You feel misused, misunderstood. Everything that comes
Mm-hmm.
from that,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, so let's dive into the delayed gratification. So delayed gratification, refers to the ability to resist immediate reward and pleasure.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, as a 2 years old, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your sibling, whoever brought you up, your grandma, you know, taught you how to wait. It's that building that muscle that actually allows you to have the ability to resist immediate reward or pleasures in order to obtain a longer and more significant reward,
Mm.
you see. So now,
Yes.
with the delayed gratification, you delay immediate satisfaction. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
with the baby crying, they're looking for immediate satisfaction, immediate
Yes.
indulgence, or like wanting to have here and now, right? For
Mm.
the sake of, because they want it now. But if you have delayed gratification, right? What happens is that when you delay that satisfaction over and over again, you end up building up enough resilience for you to actually attain the long-term goals and benefits.
Mm. Yeah, I get it.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So it requires self-discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
It requires willpower. We talked about willpower before,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to prioritize and say, this is what I need first, this is what I need second, and have
Mm.
short-term and long-term goals.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
all that included will actually help you build up the muscles that will help you, master the duration technique. Does that make sense?
Mm. It does. It
Yeah.
does.
So I hope that really, brought it home. I hope that explained everything that needed to be
Yeah, it's
explained.
explained it, and it's even explained the number two
Mhm.
question, which was how delayed gratification enhance our ability to focus and concentrate on tasks.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
yeah, you're right. As I said, once you actually, wait, you know, once you actually, wait for the satisfaction that you actually want to have, you're going to actually pay more attention to what you're doing,
Yes.
and
Mm.
it's
Mm.
actually going to allow you to actually resist, distraction in a way,
Mm. Mm.
because when you have the delayed gratification, you have the ability to focus and concentrate, but then
Mm-hmm.
on the opposite side, by if you have that immediate reward, right, then you're going to
Mm-hmm.
make
Mm.
errors, mistakes. You're not going to focus. You're not going to, internalize the material that you need and digest and put them in their
Yeah.
long-term memory. You see.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
so by
Mm-hmm.
getting immediate reward, so we can actually dedicate time and more energy to do what is important, and we are able to actually
Yeah.
prioritize and And the patience actually gives us the ability to stay motivated in even what we're doing, enjoy what you're doing.
Okay, Susie, while you're talking, something has come to mind. Yeah.
Mhm.
Usually, when we have a huge task, we are
Mhm.
encouraged to like break the task in little doable bits.
Mhm.
Okay, and then for each bit that we are done with, or each bit that we do successfully, then we kind of celebrate, give pat ourselves on the back. Yeah. And that's a practice that's usually encouraged just so that you keep going and complete the entire task. Now, looking at that concept vis-a-vis the concept of delayed gratification, is it the same thing or are they two antagonizing concepts?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very good question because actually
Mm,
I have helped a few organizations with that concept in the past, especially,
yes.
as we are emerging or we are having this population, Gen Z
Mm,
population. The Gen Z
yes.
population is the population of the kids who are in their late teens, early 20s, right?
Mm,
So, the delayed gratification has for most of them, I'm saying most of them, not all of them, are suffering from not having that delayed gratification. So,
yeah.
so when you actually have that, the ability, if you have a long, big kind of task that actually you're supposed to accomplish, breaking it down, it actually helps with the long-term goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is that
Correct.
you, especially when someone has a deficit in the only way you can be able to help them is by chopping those into small pieces, because there's a long-term goal and the short-term goal, right?
Mm,
As I mentioned
mm-hmm.
earlier. So if you put
Yes.
a short-term goal for someone who has a deficit in delayed gratification, you're going to start actually strengthening their muscles to start
Mm,
learning how to actually
mm,
work on their goals and wait. So they will be
mm-hmm.
waiting not for too long, but they will be waiting for a specific time period, knowing that there's a
Mm,
bigger goal that they need to achieve.
yeah, sure,
You
sure.
see.
Mm,
So, but
mm,
then now what happens by doing those kind of chopping those tasks into small tasks? What happens,
mm,
you're strengthening their muscles, and then eventually, once they're able to attain the goal, then they can see
mm,
how much they've done, and
mm,
that's
mm-hmm.
rewarding by itself. You see.
Mm,
So now what you've done with that person, if they get another task similar to that, they might be able to chop it in a bigger chunks, right? Instead of
mm, mm.
8 little tasks, they might do them as 4 tasks
Before,
instead. Because what you've done, you have actually allowed them to practice the delayed gratification
yes.
at the level where they are,
Mm,
you see. And everybody is at a different level,
mm,
and everyone is different, right? So now, if you're able to actually assess, your team, or if you're a team leader, your team, and see who has what, then you can be able to actually coach them so that you can be able to actually understand their capabilities. That way, they're not getting super disappointed when they get that big task.
mm, mm,
So I've been
mm-hmm.
doing trainings again with different teams, because right now we have the Gen Zs, we have millennials, we have all this, everybody mixed up at work. And
Yeah.
some people are getting frustrated when the newcomers, the new younger population come in. They're very good, very fast, but at the same time, they kind of give up very quickly. So
Yeah.
and they want here now, and they want to finish things fast. So
Yeah.
I've been doing that as well. I think that's a very important subject, and thank you for bringing it up.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So now, with the delayed gratification,
Mhm.
and especially for the it's not just a Gen Z problem. I think this problem starts from the millennials, where you want to be told, good job, good job with everything that you do, and you want to see the results there and then. So most of the people in these categories tend to be impatient. So, and yet delayed gratification is a very important skill when it comes to achieving your goals and aspirations, right? So
Mhm.
how can somebody cultivate it, or what skills or techniques does somebody need to have or to practice so that they cultivate this delayed gratification in their day to day?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. And I think,
Mm,
it's a very important question. And I think I have addressed it in different platforms when I'm doing trainings
mm,
for
mm,
teams in different around the world. So I mean, there are different ways of doing it. One way, and I will go down, the list. One way is understanding what you're doing, right?
mm-hmm,
Delayed gratification, what you want to do, you need to be able to actually notice, be aware of yourself first,
mm,
right? And because delayed gratification can come up in any way,
mm-hmm,
work, home, everywhere. So you want to actually be able to actually be aware of where you are and what you're actually asking for, because
mm-hmm.
it's all about what you are asking for, what you're aspiring to get, or what you
Okay.
want yourself to do so that you can actually be rewarded for the task that you did.
Mm,
As you said,
mm,
the good job, kind of mindset, right?
mm,
So now,
mm,
what happens is that you have to be aware of yourself, where you are,
mm,
in terms of,
mhm,
you know, um,
mhm,
your need for the gratification. Where are you? On a 0 to 10 scale, where are you? Are you at a 0 or a 10, right? If Because you can tell because of the urge, you can see, you can feel the urge, right?
mm,
You
mm,
can feel the urge. So now, when you do that, you set clear, specific, long-term goals.
mm,
And I'll add something else. You have to be very realistic here.
mm,
And that's the reason why
mm,
I mentioned that you have to be aware of yourself and where you are
mhm,
on the number line. If
mm.
you're
I
on,
think that's important, yes,
yes,
because it also keeps you from comparing yourself with other people.
there you go. You know
Mm.
what happens when we compare ourselves with other people?
I think that just kills everything.
You know, you know,
It
it's
kills
just
the will.
yeah, it's just like an automatic fail without trying, right?
Yeah. Mm,
Um, so yeah, so now once you actually set clear, specific, long-term goals that are,
mm,
realistic, right? Then you're
mm,
going to break down the goals into smaller goals.
mm.
Remember, the first thing, the number line, then realistic goals, and then smaller
Yes.
line. So what is going to determine how small your goals are going to be, the smaller set of goals, the short-term goals? The number line, where are you?
Your abilities.
So if you're at a 3, please don't set the things that for 10.
Yeah.
Then you're
Mm,
going to really be failing yourself, and you're not,
mm,
being nice to yourself. You have to be really nice to
mm,
yourself. That's
yeah.
the rule, right?
Mm,
So now,
mm,
and then of course, as I said, you have to practice mindfulness and awareness. You have to be
mm,
self-aware, you know, of yourself and how to manage your impulses. Like if you're impulsive, if you actually want to set up a 9 instead of a 3, because you're trying to be impulsive, you want to get it here and now, and then in the middle of it, you're going to be, you're going to be demotivated and not finish it. You
Yes.
want to check your fuel tank, people. How much
Mm.
fuel do you
Mm.
have? If you cannot do the number line, check your fuel tank, check the gauge.
Yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
it? Right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to actually use positive reinforcement, as we mentioned in the past. And you
Mm.
know, if you have to talk to yourself in the morning, put those notes on the mirror. Say how great
Yeah.
you are and how capable you are in
Mm-hmm.
doing the things that you
Mm-hmm.
actually put your mind to doing them, right?
Yeah.
Then actually you have that belief system that has already been created, as we talked about in the past, that will help you, master and figure out what you really want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, and then you want to surround yourself with the positive people or supportive people,
Mm.
and hold
Mm-hmm.
yourself accountable. Tell the person
Accountable.
that you think that are going to actually hold you accountable for doing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I usually say is that if I tell one of the people that I trust, it's hard to trust people nowadays, that I'm doing this, I cannot disappoint myself, because if I do disappoint myself, actually, I'll feel that the other person will really, you know, judge me. So, and
Mm.
human beings don't like to be judged, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
then that's another secret. You want to do that,
Mm.
of course, but you have to tell the right person. If you tell the wrong
Oh
person, they're
yes.
going to discourage you from doing it.
Mm. So like you get yourself an accountability partner.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
And you see
you want
also
to
your
do that.
specific. Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, you practice patience and tolerance. So, and that's the part that I said,
Yes.
you have to be realistic with yourself.
Mm. Mm. And I think we also need to give ourselves grace, because most of the times we are comparing ourselves with our peers, with our friends, our family members, our colleagues at work. I can give an example.
Sure.
And we're normally told that we all start on the same like starting line, and
Hmm.
then others print, others excel, and that message is told to us in a very negative, as much as it's meant to motivate us, it is told in a very negative way, that it
Hmm.
leads to some kind of, I would say, unhealthy competition and also unfair judgment of self. Yeah, going by that, just that message, we tend to want to be like other people whose fuel gauges might be up there and maybe ours is down here, and therefore we either get frustrated in the pursuit of our aspirations and drop out completely, or we start feeling like we are not good enough.
There you go.
Yes. So, yeah. So the self awareness that you've talked about is really, really, really key. We should be kind to ourselves and know ourselves, know our abilities and our capabilities and the resources that are within our reach.
Good. Yeah, no, you're a
Mm.
good student. You're listening. So,
Oh, yeah.
yes, yeah,
Oh,
you're
yes.
right. Yeah,
Mm,
self-awareness is the key. And the number line,
mm,
people use the
mm,
number line. We learned that in school. Please just use it.
mm. Yeah.
It's more application. It's not supposed to be the math that we learned. Don't be afraid of
Mm.
it. Draw
Yeah,
and do
sure.
0 to 10, and you're good.
Yes.
Or you can even
Yes.
have the negative part. Okay.
And it's still okay. It's okay to
Mhm.
be where you're at.
Yeah, because then if
Yeah.
you know where you are, then you know where to begin. And then you're not
Yeah.
beginning at 10 and yet you're on -4.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're not comparing yourself with somebody who's at 10 while you're at negative, something,
Yeah,
you know?
so
Mm.
yeah, the art of comparing, actually view it as a self-harm kind of a way,
Mm.
because
Mm.
you're emotionally actually setting yourself, or actually harming yourself, with knowing or without knowing. So,
Mm,
so it's very important, for us to know that we cannot be another person. We are actually
mm,
created uniquely.
mm,
Even the twins are usually not the same. We
mm,
have different
mm,
fingerprints, and that's why we use
mm,
fingerprints for
yeah.
everything. All right. So you're unique
Mm-hmm.
in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So don't
Mm,
compare yourself. If you compare yourself, that's self injury, or self harm.
yeah. Okay. Cool. So next question. Um, so how does delayed gratification contribute to building discipline and
Hmm.
self-control?
Yeah. So, we talked about self control before, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Before last week. Mm,
building discipline, of course, as I said, when you're doing the delayed gratification, what are you doing? You're actually building up your muscles that allows you
mm,
to actually have that ability to wait and not be
mm,
impulsive, right?
mm,
Um,
mm,
and then what happens when you wait and you don't have that impulsivity? What happens is that you actually make conscious choices,
mm-hmm,
you see. You know,
mm,
that means you actually calculating and actually telling yourself what you want to do and how you want
mm-hmm,
to do it. That means
mm,
you have control of yourself,
mm.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then, so now when you do it over and over and over again, that is the art of building discipline.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm,
becomes like a second nature to you.
mm, mm,
So once you resist the temptations over and over again, stay committed to your long-term goal. It will help you regulate yourself, have the resilience. You have the ability to make thoughts, become decisions, become, dream and aspiration,
yeah.
right? So now
Mm,
become deliberate
mm,
in what you want to do.
mm,
And
mm-hmm.
most of us, we have a hard time being deliberate because we just, we don't have that delayed gratification. And when you
Yes.
become deliberate, you become impactful in what you're doing.
Mm, mm,
You see.
mm,
So it's an important strategy. It's an important aspect of well-being, and
mm-hmm.
everyone was, as I said, we were born with it. We just have to figure out how to use it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We were all born with it. Yeah.
That's the first
Okay.
gift you get.
Mm, okay.
Hmm.
I also feel that if we focus our eyes on the prize, then for sure it becomes easier to just know how to use the delayed gratification in getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
mm,
Yeah, they said last time, the kids, who waited for the second marshmallow, um, they actually ended up doing very well in their life because
mm,
they had already mastered the art of delayed gratification.
mm, patience.
Hmm.
All right. Okay, so next question
Yep.
is kind of related. Are there any physical or cognitive benefits associated with practicing delayed gratification?
Yeah, physical and cognitive benefits. We can go in whichever
Yes.
way we want with this, right? So let's start with physical, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. In terms of physical, we can look at different aspects, right? One is food, the other one is
Mm,
exercise and staying fit.
yes.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see it coming. So let's start with food. When you see that bag of chips you
Mm,
just ate, right?
mm-hmm.
You're, something is telling you that you have to get it and eat it.
Yes. Mm.
You know, you can't resist. You see that ice cream and you just had, you know, a piece of cheesecake.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, the strawberry ice cream. I'm
Mm.
full. But oh geez, you know, it's calling me.
Yeah. Mm.
You know, chocolate. You see that chocolate and you're so stuffed. You know,
Mm.
how do you peel yourself from actually extending your hand and reaching out for that? You have to master delayed gratification.
Mm.
You see, you know, that comes in physically, you know, we have to, you know, you see it, it's there
Yeah.
physically, it's there. But
Mm-hmm.
then you have to tell yourself that, you know what, it's there, but I cannot get it. But you know, you can get it. You can say, you know,
Mm.
yeah, but I cannot get it right now. I
Mm-hmm.
have to wait
Mm.
for 1 more hour. I just ate.
Mm.
Or maybe I'll eat it
Mm.
at night.
Okay. Mm. Mm.
Most people, of course, you know, with, you know, lack of delayed gratification, cannot
Yeah.
wait.
Yes.
They will still go for it. They will do it, but you know, they just have to master that aspect of, you know, delayed gratification. So now, but then that's more psychological and, you know, emotional and all that. So,
Mm. Mm.
and remember, you have to scan yourself. All the things that I said before. See where you are. What's happening? Why are you feeling like you have to have it here now? Are you anxious? Are
Mm.
you stressed out? Are you pacifying yourself?
Mm.
Remember, gratification and pacifying ourselves, right? Whew, they go hand,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So now let's go to physical exercises.
Mm.
That's hard because, of course, there's the long-term goal, which is very long.
Yes.
Then you have to break
And
it
takes a
down.
lot of effort. Uh-huh.
There you go. A lot of willpower
Mm.
is required for you to stick to the exercises and think of the long term goal. You might as well get a
Mm.
poster and put it there, chop the head and put your face there and see this is what I want.
Mm.
Okay? So now, so those are the physical aspects that actually, you know, put us on to test, you know, in our day to day operation when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
delayed gratifications. The other one you asked was what was it? Cognitive,
The cognitive benefits.
the cognitive benefit. So now going back to physical, the benefits of delayed gratification, right? You know, once you actually learn, you know, the exercises that you need to do,
Mm.
knowing that, you know, you have a goal that you need to achieve, and do
Mm.
it over and over again, and do it in small chunks. Don't start with, again, number line. You know, when you're starting, you start with what you can do when you first
Yeah.
started. You don't start with, you know, lifting up 100 pounds, 200
Yeah.
pounds, 300 pounds. What's going to happen? You're going to kill it. You're going to kill that
Mm.
motivation,
Yeah.
right? So now, for you to be able to do, you have to do all the things that I actually mentioned, and then, you know, set the realistic goals, and then,
Mm.
you know, put them into chunks, right? And then
Mm.
say, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to lose 30 pounds before the end of the year, and we're in July. How many pounds do I want to lose every month? Those are the small goals, remember?
Mm. Mm.
So then those are bearable instead of saying, oh, you know, I'm just waiting for the 30 pounds.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
that's painful.
Yeah. Mm.
Yes. So that's physical. So cognitive or cognitively, delayed gratification, right?
Mm.
So it all comes hand in hand with our thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do we master how to actually, work with our mind? How we be able to actually direct our thoughts where they belong?
Mm-hmm.
How can we be able to actually redirect our thoughts that way, you know, they're not leading into that, negative. So now,
Mm.
so what happens is that when you're having a thought, right? And this is a very good example. When you're having a thought about something, and as I said before, we're supposed to actually verify our thoughts. That way, we're not actually making conclusions that are not legitimate. If you
Mm.
are in a relationship, oh, your husband is not picking up the call, or your boyfriend is not picking up the call, start going through the thoughts, right? Are we together?
Yes.
So when he gets home, you're all mad, upset.
Mm.
What did you do? You did not practice delayed gratification.
Mm.
You just wanted to actually understand the things that, in a biased way, how you want
Mm.
to understand, instead of
Mm.
waiting until you ask the question. But you just wanted that. And some people will, of course, they'll be more even impulsive, but by like doing some things that are not good for their relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, there is that, so delayed gratification can come from the thoughts, which is cognitive processing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
if we're not able to actually practice delayed gratification, what happens? We become impulsive, we make the wrong decision, we actually, judge the wrong way, right? We misinterpret, misunderstand, misconceive things, and then we actually change our belief system.
Mm.
But if you have delayed gratification, you allow yourself room to actually process and understand things and give things a chance to actually have an explanation of what's happening.
Yeah.
So your
Uh-huh.
processing will allow you to interpret things. That way, you're not emotionally reacting to things.
Mm.
Does
Mm.
that make sense?
It does. It does. It
Yeah.
does. Mm. Okay. Good. Oh, that's a deep one. Okay, so I'll
Um,
go to the next question.
don't tell me, Yvette, it touched you somewhere, huh?
It did. It did. I mean, I've had those instances where I was impulsive,
Mm-hmm.
and it was because of my perception of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did not have the patience to, analyze the situation objectively
Yeah.
before my next course of action. So, yeah. So when I say that touches deep, it does. Close home.
Listen,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest thing is we all go through that before we
Yeah.
actually get to understand ourselves better. So,
Mm.
you're not alone in that. We learn, from our mistakes, and sometimes,
Yes. Correct.
based on what is happening, you might end up actually, jumping into conclusion and later realizing, oh my goodness.
Yes. I mean, yeah, in most cases, we just realize, oh gosh, if only I didn't do that. If only I was patient enough. If only I asked. But oh well, we're all learning.
It's a learning curve, and that's the beauty about
Mm.
life. Life is about
Mm,
learning, and we learn new
correct.
things over and over
Yeah.
again. Um,
Yeah.
and it's it's a beauty that we are able to understand things and recreate things and figure out things, and because we have to understand each other, and sometimes it's really hard to understand even ourselves. So
Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. True.
okay,
So yes,
continue.
that's life. Yeah. Um. Sorry. Need to. Okay. I don't know why that's happening.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it is very important to do that. So,
Hello.
and then, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot see you. Okay. I
There
hope
you
you
go.
can
You're
hear me
back.
and see me.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of being in the community. So at least you know this is real, right?
Yes.
Okay. You
Okay.
can continue.
Okay, good. I hope I'm clear because I had an
Yeah.
interference, so I'm not sure my sound is clear.
Yes, it is clear. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So now let me go to the next question, which is on challenges and obstacles
Mm-hmm.
that one is likely to face when implementing delayed gratification, and especially for people like us who are rather impatient and get frustrated easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, of course. You know, the challenges that you can face, you know, if you of course one, if you do not learn how to to have this delayed gratification, because we usually learn gratification, you know, immediate gratification when we are growing up. So if you haven't learned how to do it, of course the challenges will be, you know, having not having that mastery of you know, delayed gratification. Will actually, you're going to succumb to the temptation of immediate rewards and desire for instant gratification. So then it becomes really hard. So part of it is, you know, if your mindset has not really, you know, mastered, you know, the delayed gratification, then you're going to actually succumb to the temptations of that having, you know, the immediate reward and desire. So and then, you know, the other one is you know, the difficulty in sustaining motivation. You know, of course people sometimes they don't get motivated and focus over extended period of time. So what do I mean by that? You know, that's the part that we talked about, discipline, you know, and wanting those pleasurable, you know, things that allow us to feel good, right? So now what happens is the idea of my number line applies here. So if if the number line if the number line actually does not, you know, you do not have a number line, or you don't have a key telling you where you lay, you know, in terms of your ability, your energy, and your awareness of what's going on, then what happens, you set yourself to fail. So now when you actually then grasp a nine, number nine, instead of a number three, then you're going to struggle with the number nine because you don't have energy, the willpower, and everything that you need to actually achieve that goal. So then what's going to happen if you don't have that energy, the willpower, everything that needs you need to achieve that goal, you're going to be demotivated. Okay. So demotivation, it's a very common problem that that we actually, you know, face in our day-to-day operation of, you know, um, as human beings, right? You know, it's a state where you don't have the drive, interest to pursue the goals that you need. So now when you have no interest, you know, to pursue the things that you need, then it's going to be hard to keep up or sustain the gratification, delayed gratification, right? So now what you want to do is you want to figure out how you can get that motivation back, either by recalibrating what you actually think that you can capable of, moving from one number line to another, you know, figuring out, you know, what are the tools and resources that you have, so that way you can be able to actually have a realistic goal, right? um, and then the other thing is you want to actually uh, find out what your external pressure and society influences, you know, that are kind of pushing you to actually having that instant gratification. And that goes hand in hand, sometimes, the urge to actually, look at the Jones, your neighbors, see what they're doing and all that on the social media. So cut down on the social media. See how much you can do by delaying. You need to actually figure out who did what during the weekend. You see, so now that will help you a lot, to master, that delayed gratification. So the other one is the fear of missing out.
FOMO.
Uh-huh. Oh, feeling deprived. And
Mm,
again, you can use the number line, to see where you were on
where
your
you are.
deprivation. If you're feeling
Mm,
you're feeling deprived, that means you actually depriving yourself first of all before you're looking for other people to actually fill you up. That means you're not
yeah.
enough for yourself. I know it sounds bad, but
Mm,
yes. So so you have to actually figure that out. Fear of missing out, then you need to figure out how you can be able to actually cut down that social media and wait, for a
mm,
time period. Say, you check it, at 10 a.m., not immediately after you wake up, and then check it again maybe at 4, 5 p.m. It's hard, but it's doable.
hard.
Go ahead. Hmm.
It's really hard. Mm. Okay. So those are the three challenges, three obstacles.
Hmm.
How do we? How can you overcome them? And especially the one where we get demotivated. When you get demotivated, when you get frustrated, like how do we overcome that, or how do we even prevent ourselves from getting to those points?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think, that's a very good question. As I mentioned earlier on, we have to chop the long term goal into short term goals.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's
Mm-hmm.
going to actually allow you so that way you can actually, um, strengthen your muscles of
Mm,
delayed gratification.
mm,
And then if you wrap yourself around people who are supporting you, remember, good job,
yes.
you are going to actually be kindled with positive spirit, that will allow you to keep
Mm,
on going and align yourself,
mm,
with
mm,
the goals that you need to achieve.
mm,
Finding alternative sources of satisfaction, right? Like for example, if you actually are satisfied by social media, figure out a different way of actually getting the satisfaction, during the
mm,
waiting period. Because what
mm,
happens, temptations are the ones that causes you to actually break the you need to actually strengthen your delayed gratification. So you have to use the replacement method to begin with until you have enough strength. But don't replace
mm,
the gratification with the same similar thing, but it looks different.
mm,
So you just want to actually use things that are not giving you the same satisfaction, but at least
yeah.
they're keeping you occupied.
Mm,
Does that make
mm.
sense?
It does make sense. It does,
Yeah. So
breaking your tasks into smaller units, and also you're just finding something else to replace,
yeah,
something else to give you that momentary pleasure while you're
yeah.
still working on your goal.
And
Mm,
it could be anything that occupies your time, because
mm,
remember, I don't mind creates the opportunity for actually temptations and instant gratification. You want to feel that. Remember, you're
mm,
pacifying yourself when you're doing that
mm,
because you're idle.
mm,
You see.
mm,
But if you're going for a walk, you're doing something, you're engaging in an activity, then you're not going to have that mindset
mm,
of wanting to actually
mm,
pop in and check.
mm, mm,
Make
mm.
sense? And then, seeking social support, as I said, and practicing mindfulness and self-reflection. You know, recalibrate yourself, figure out where you are.
Mm, mm.
Okay.
And I think that that's the most important thing, figuring out where you are. I think that that's really key in exercising the delayed gratification, and also it keeps you from giving up on your dreams.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Continue.
So, okay, so this you've answered. Actually, I feel like the next question that I'm going to ask,
Mhm.
basically, you've covered in this entire session, which is tips or advice for individuals who struggle with delaying gratification.
Yeah. We've talked about that. I think,
Yeah.
by the end of our conversation, you become a master of delayed gratification.
Oh, yes.
You just have to take your time and put it into
Mm,
practice by
mm,
delayed the
mm,
instant gratifications that are
yes.
preventing you from practicing delayed gratification. Does that make sense?
Mm, yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense completely.
So I think, I mean, it's an art, as I mentioned,
Mm,
gratification, it's an art that we learned, as soon as we
mm,
landed. Like, that's the first thing we learned.
yeah.
How do we, unlearn or change that, that way we can learn how to wait? It's the hardest thing ever. Don't
I think
expect,
so.
yeah, don't expect yourself to change in a heartbeat. you know just
Mm,
acknowledge it's hard, but you know what, it's doable, so have to put my
it's
work
doable.
into it, right?
Yes. Mm, mm. And
And
I also feel that if you set your eyes on the prize to
yeah,
be won, then surely,
yeah, if you really want it
surely,
so bad,
yes.
you will get it.
Mm, mm,
And then the other art that actually, if you want it so bad and it actually kills your ego not to get it, then you'll get it.
mm. Yeah.
And I can briefly explain what I mean by that, because that's
Mm,
something, it's a reversal. Almost, we don't usually use our ego so much, because sometimes the ego can mess up with us, right? Um,
mm,
you know, it's so our ego allows us to feel, the sense of identity and individual, like, sense of self, on how you
mm,
perceive yourself, your self esteem,
yeah.
your self image. That's what gives us the
Mm,
drive and motivation.
mm,
It's our
mm,
ego in one or another way. Because if you feel like your ego is in jeopardy, your self image is in jeopardy, your self esteem is in jeopardy, oh, you're going to do anything you can
mm, mm,
to salvage that. You're going to do anything you can to get to the prize. If
mhm,
someone tells you
mhm.
you cannot do it, and if you have the right
Then you've
mindset,
only chosen wrong. Mm,
if your ego is bruised, you're going to do anything you can to get what you the prize. Make sense?
mm. It does make sense.
All
It does
right,
make
people.
sense.
I mean, that was an awesome, awesome session, and thank you so much
Mm,
for watching this. And I think, it's an art that we learn how to do as babies, and we grow up with it, and we just have to learn how to change it a little bit, that way, it can work for
mm,
us. But
mhm,
again, so thank you so much, Yvette, for asking those questions, and I hope, I answered them. Um,
yes.
and if you have any question,
Absolutely.
yeah, please DM us. Let us know, if you need anything, and I we have, um, We are on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter as well. You can check us out on Susie Amos or Amston Mindset on Facebook and Instagram. So please, DM us and let us know if you have any question. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you, guys. This has been really, really informative as usual. Thanks, Susie,
You're
for
welcome.
answering the questions in
You're welcome.
the most simple and understandable manner.
Make it simple, you know.
Yeah.
Simplicity is the best, is the key,
Yes.
and actually,
Mhm.
you know, I usually say go back to basic, and you're going to actually learn everything you need to learn.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, our dear viewers, and we'll see you next week on Thursday.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank. Bye bye.